In this lesson, we will use the createContext. So we begin with import useState, createContext, useContext. From React. Okay. Now we will create function my component one. Return in my component one. Okay. And then we will call the my component two. We haven't yet created my component two, but we are going to create my component two, my component two. Okay. Now we get my component two. Here is where we use the context. Const x is equal to use context. So we are using the context first, but we are going to create it later. My context. So yeah, and then return here we'll have h1 in my component 2, and then we will have h1 the value of x in my component 2 is the dollar $x this. Okay, and then close. Okay. Use context. My context is not yet defined, so we are going to create that. Const my context. Create context. Okay, now inside the function add, we will declare const x comma set x is equal to use state I from integer. We are assigning the value, and then we can we don't need this div. Is it okay if I delete it? No problem. Okay. So return my context dot provider value is equal to x. Okay, we must use, then we use h1 in app value of x is set to dollar and then x and then h1. Okay, and then we call my component 1 here. So because it's calling my component 1, enab the value of x. X is set to in my component 1. It's calling my component 1. My component 1 calls my component 2. The value of x in my component 2 in my component 2. So this sets the value of x, and inside the my context provider, it is here printing the value of x, and then here inside this it's calling my component 1. My component 1, it calls in my component 1, it displays this, it calls my component 2, which extracts the value of x from my context, and then it spits it out. So value of x is set to this in app. It then call in my component 1. It calls my component 1 inside the provider, my context provider. Here it displays the message, calls the component 1. Component 1 extracts the value and prints it.